All right, welcome back to the Blue Review. Marcus Grant, what's up, man?
What's going on?
No Parker Bell today because he decided to wait till 8:30 this morning to tell us that he's not going to be here, and he's usually the one that's like tossing us topics and stuff, and we're just reacting. So we're going to be very unprepared in that sense. However, the only way that we have to start is in one way. But before I do that, the Blue Review is presented by LAX at Los Angeles International Airport. Changes are arriving daily to reduce traffic, save guests time, and transform the travel experience. Info at flylax.com/transforminglax. And now, Marcus, you work for this little teeny tiny company that is called the National Football League, right?
Little startup, little mom and pop operation.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, really, really small, tiny.
One day we'll catch on.
Yeah, I know. Nobody knows anything about it. We'll get around to it. But we have to do this. I know this is the Blue Review, and I know it's a Dodgers-centric show, but when news like this happens, we have to start off there. Aaron Donald of the Los Angeles Rams has decided to retire. He is no longer going to play, and really good for him, man. Like, you know more about this stuff. This is your world on the other side. So what is your thoughts on Aaron Donald retiring?
I mean, first off, congratulations to him on an amazing career. Arguably the greatest defensive tackle ever to do it. Certainly the greatest defensive player of his generation. Amazing for a guy that, you go back through all the old scouting reports. I was doing that this morning. And, a lot of the things that kept coming up about Aaron Donald, the people loved his strength. They loved his athleticism. They loved his energy and his motor. The thing that kept coming up is he's a little undersized. And, you wonder how he's going to hold up against big offensive linemen in the middle of the offensive line. Can he stop the run? Are his arms long enough to really get separation from offensive linemen? That was the one thing that kept coming up. Now, mind you, it didn't stop him from, being drafted fairly high. And then he just from day one turned into a menace. I mean, a guy that, you could double team him. You could put as many guys as you wanted on him and somehow would make the play. And sometimes he wasn't necessarily the guy around the ball, but he would occupy so much attention from, the other team's offensive line that it allowed other people to come and make the play. And then I think, you go back to maybe his greatest moment, right? It's the Super Bowl against the Bengals. It's one last play for the Rams to win a championship. And I think everybody watching that just knew that there was no way you were going to stop Aaron Donald, right? That very last play when he just wrecks the Bengals. And then the iconic shot of him, holding up the ring finger, pointing to the ring finger because he knew he had won a championship. Absolutely amazing. There's no doubt he is going to be in Canton, Ohio in 5 years, fitted for that gold jacket. I mean, that is unquestionable. And I think you see it sort of the way the league is responding, a lot of the tributes about him being the greatest ever to do it. I think honestly the best compliment that I've seen so far this morning is Kyler Murray, the starting quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals, responding to Aaron Donald's tweet with "Thank God," because I think that's really how quarterbacks around the league are feeling. That to me is like the ultimate sign of respect when other guys around the league are happy, in a good way, happy to see you go because you have just tortured them for a decade.
I mean, that's what we're thinking about, like the Rams right now. Like, well, this is a year they have $60 million under the cap. They had all this money, and there's a lot of things that they have draft picks for the first time. That this was a year that was possibly a year that they could maybe get back to the Super Bowl. Yeah. They were going to be that kind of set up for that, and then for Aaron Donald to just out of nowhere decide to retire is shocking. And I think the biggest thing that you were just talking about. The rest of the league just breathed a giant sigh of relief going, oh, my God, I don't have to be hit by that dude. Because I've been to training camp, and I go to it almost every year since the Rams have been here. And, like, he's not, like, monstrous. He's not, 6'5", 300 pounds, like this huge dude. But if he takes off his shirt, you're like, oh, my God, that man is a beast. I would not want to get hit by that dude ever. And so the way what you're saying it, I wonder if he really is the best defensive player of all time. And if he's not, he's probably top 5.
He's in the conversation. Yeah, I think he's certainly in the conversation. It's amazing. He's only 32 years old. He's been around for 10 years. You talk about just his physique, right? Like I air quotes, only 6'1", right? 280 some odd pounds. I remember a couple of years ago, I think it might've been right after the Super Bowl win, He put out a picture of on Instagram, and it was him shirtless. I mean, just flexing, looking like the Hulk. And my wife showed the picture to me, and I'm like, if this is what you're looking for, then we might as well just break up now. If that's what you
I'm
want.
never gonna be that guy.
I'm never gonna be that. So if that's what you need, then I'm just gonna be on my way.
That
but
was the picture he used in his retirement announcement, by the way. He's just, God, he's monstrous.
Yeah. I do think it's interesting. Look, it is totally his decision to make whenever he decides to make it. I think for the Rams, it's an interesting time because you alluded to it, right? They've got money to spend. They've got a ton of draft picks to use. They exceeded expectations last year in what they did. I don't think anybody expected them to be as successful on the field as they were. And so now it kind of gives you this idea that there's some momentum, right? That they could actually make a run in the postseason. But, Aaron Donald presumably was going to be a big part of that on the defensive side of the football. So, it is an interesting time, I think, in terms of roster building, in terms of what the Rams have on their plate for this season. But I think in terms of what he has accomplished, I don't know really that there's anything more that Aaron Donald can accomplish on the football field. And so in that respect, completely hats off to him, and, all the best. And look, could you imagine being retired at 32?
Oh, that would have been 8 years ago when I'd be
right.
very, very happy.
That ship has sailed a long time ago for me, but yeah.
Yeah, we will get to the Dodgers in just a minute. It is the Blue Review, so we'll touch on some Dodgers. But just to finish up on my side when it comes to Aaron Donald, I mean, this is absolutely a year. The Rams just fixed their offensive line. They added a bunch of dudes. They brought in Jonah Jackson. They have Kevin Dotson from last year. Steve Avila is playing out of his mind. They actually have a good offensive line that can protect Matthew Stafford and help with Kyron Williams. So the offense should get up and going. Like Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are stars out there for the receivers. And all you need is just to build up your defensive side. Everything that we've been talking about was like, they just need a pass rusher next to Aaron Donald. One pass rusher next to Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
Well, now you need a pass
two.
rusher and a new Aaron Donald, and you don't find Aaron Donalds ever. So they were lucky to do that. It's going to be really sad to see him go, but good for him. I mean, you're right. He has done everything that he needs to do in his career. He's always the Defensive Player of the Year, Super Bowl champion. There's not much left. So good for him. But I mean, it was completely caught me off guard from everything the station's been talking about the Rams.
I mean, it's just wild, because I know that rumor has sort of come up the last couple of years, about whether or not he was going to retire. I mean, I remember right after the Super Bowl when there was talk that he and Sean McVay might go out together even, and he was able to come back. So for it to happen right now, I think it caught everybody by surprise. And look, hey, it came out of the blue. So if we're doing Blue Review, here it is.
There you go. Hey, that was a good transition.
Thank you. I
Marcus.
appreciate
that. Well done. So it doesn't look like we're going to get a Clinton Yates showing today on the Blue Review. That was something that he said he wanted to do. I guess does not want to do it today. He was very unresponsive today, but we'll get him around next time. CY is always welcome. But I mean, for the Dodgers, since we started off with Aaron Donald, we got to get to the Dodgers at some point. Basically, look, they've landed in Seoul, and did you see the size of the crowd?
Oh yeah,
to see Shohei and Yamamoto, like it was massive.
It's the Beatles, man. It's the Beatles with wrapped up with BTS and I don't know, name your other band that people just go insane for. It's all of that rolled into one. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, right? Because how do you balance sort of this rock star atmosphere versus they are there to do some work, right? I hate the phrase business trip because it just sounds corny, but it is sort of a business trip, right? They have work to do. The season is starting for them, but there's no doubt about it that he is larger than life. I mean, it's a big deal here in America. He is larger than life when they are going back to Asia, right? And this is not even Japan, right? They're talking about going to Korea. Imagine if they were somehow playing a couple of games in Tokyo. It would be unbearable having him walk around. So should be fun. I guess in a lot of respects, though, it takes a lot of pressure off the other guys, right? If you're Freddie Freeman, if you're Mookie Betts, I mean, somebody kind of wants to talk to you, but not on the level they would if you were, landing in, I don't know, Dallas or something like that.
They kind of just fade into the background.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, look, it's Shohei Ohtani. Like, and you're like, oh yeah, that Mookie Betts guy.
Yeah.
Right?
There's also Mookie Betts and whoever else there. So
So
yeah, that's good, I guess.
yeah. So it's funny that you mentioned the Tokyo thing. There, apparently Dylan Hernandez wrote a piece yesterday in the LA Times, and it looks like they're going to be going to Japan next year. And there's a possibility that they're going to see the Nippon Ham Fighters, which were, Shohei's former team when he was over there in Japan. So this could be a few years in the making that might be moving around the Asian countries, which I think is amazing and great for them.
It is. I'm just wondering now, is MLB going to like pimp them out to all these other countries around the world to sort of like, draw the attention or whatever?
I mean, wouldn't you? I look at the guys that you have on this team. Just if you want ambassadors to the sport around the world, this is the team that you want to do it, right? 3 MVPs at the top and superstars in the starting rotation. You go there, everybody knows who everybody is, and especially guys like Shohei and all the Yamamoto. I think I feel bad. Like the Padres are probably there now too, or landed. Or
Right.
I have no idea. I don't follow them. But like Ha-Seong Kim is somebody that is a monster star out there in Korea, and he's probably going to get dwarfed by this.
I feel like I saw a Twitter video where he was kind of going around places, and like there was a crowd, like people were sort of excited to see him, but no, it's not anything close to the attention that Shohei is getting. So it's definitely like, Ha-Seong Kim was more of like a curiosity, like, hey man, that's cool. Like Shohei is like, no pun intended, he is the show, right? I mean, he's what everybody's there to see.
No, absolutely. I just think Kim played in the KBO, and that's he was a star there. So I just thought that he would get I'm not saying anything bad about him. They love the fact that he's there. There's gonna be a lot of Padres fans in the in the crowd because of him. But yeah, it just was shocking to see the amount of people that showed up there. You're right. The way you said it's the Beatles. It's 100% is people screaming, crying, throwing bras at them. That's just
I mean, it's like going back and watching when the Dream Team, right? The original Dream Team showed up in Barcelona, right?
Yeah.
And you had Michael Jordan getting off the plane. Like, sure, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird and Charles Barkley were a big deal, but Michael Jordan was there too, right? Like that was the thing. It feels sort of similar to that.
Yeah, no, it absolutely does. So now, look, spring training is now over, and now we're starting to have to kind of look forward to it. They still do have 2 games starting tomorrow and Monday. Tomorrow against the Kawum Heroes, and then the South Korean national team on Monday. So we're going to see a little bit more of the Dodgers before they actually start on Wednesday at 3:00 in the morning here. I've actually decided, Marcus, I'm not going to wake up at 3:00 in the morning.
For it. I'm not doing that. No, I will look. I have an MLB TV subscription. I also I have Spectrum Sportsnet. Like there will be ways for me to watch those games, and I'm not getting up at 3:00.
Yeah, there's just too much going on. I was going to come into the studio with Steve Mason and broadcast live while games were going on, and that just seems like a really terrible idea.
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. Even if you did that, I would respect it. I wouldn't listen. I'm going to be straight up with you. I would not listen to it.
Appreciate your honesty. I don't think I'm going to be doing that either. But let's see. Now that spring training is basically over, do you have any thoughts on spring training? Just what, who you thought did well, who you thought needs to do a little bit better? We'll leave Gavin Lux out because we've talked that way too much. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I thought I saw some good things out of the pitching overall. I know, Tyler Glasnow had some ups and downs, but I thought we saw some good things out of him. I know we talked a little bit about Yamamoto yesterday and whether or not he's working on some things, because the last 2 starts, there were some good things. There were some not so great things. I think this team offensively is pretty ready to go. Mookie was raking, Freddie was hitting, Ohtani, was crushing the ball. I mean, up and down the line. I mean, we talked about Teoscar Hernandez hitting the ball. Muncy is going to hit if he stops getting hit by pitches. He's going to hit as well.
Legitimately a magnet inside him, right? Like
it's got to be
a magnet in the ball. Yeah.
It's got to be. So I mean, I think that the 2 biggest things coming out of spring training are one, just making sure that the arms are healthy and that there's a depth there in the pitching staff. I know we sort of toyed with the idea of them having a 6 or even 7-man rotation because they have that many guys. But just sort of figuring out roles as the season goes along, because you know figuring out who your guys are going to be, who are your specialists, your left-handed, who are the guys going to get the left-handed outs when you get into September and October. Figuring out who's going to be the guy in the ninth inning, who is going to be your closer, just setting those sorts of roles up. I think that's the one of the big questions. The other one is just left side infield defense, and that's one that I think is going to be, I won't say a headache, but I think it's going to be an issue that we keep an eye on all year long, as you have Mookie adjusting to life at shortstop, as you have Max Muncy at third base, who I think is getting better there. But, look, I don't think anybody's expecting Max Muncy to be a Gold Glover anytime soon. They just need him to be, not a circus over there. I think that's sort of the best way to describe it. So I think those are the two things that I'm most concerned about entering the regular season.
Yeah, I think you hit on the things that are actually important. It is the left side of the infield. It is all that things. Muncy, I think, will be okay, but I mean, he is just kind of a mess, and it's not something new. I mean, he was a mess last year at third base. He was a mess the other years at third base. It's just kind of where he was. I mean, he was supposed to be a first baseman, and he was actually a good first baseman. So. Good.
Right, and the Dodgers have had, look, as long as he's been there, they've had plenty of guys who could play the position. I mean, Muncy was there, Bellinger was there. Now they have Freddie Freeman there. Also, Max Muncy didn't make it to the major leagues on the strength of his glove. That's not why he's here.
No, he's to hit home runs, and if he gets you 36 home runs, he walks, a good amount of times, and he has a high OBP, and he's just moving guys along. I think he'll be just fine. And as long as his bat is performing, that's all that really matters. But I was looking at just spring training stats. The guys that you needed to actually hit during the spring training, they did. I think they also had the best record in the Cactus League as well.
Oh, did they? Okay.
Yeah, or they were right there. I know none of that stuff matters, but it just shows you at one point they were like plus 42 in run differential. And that was in spring training where everybody's just raking every single day. And they still had these massive numbers. So the offense is not going to be a problem. As long as everybody stays healthy, knock on wood. I have some right there. So as long as the offense is performing, you're going to be fine. And I just can't see how it wouldn't be, because Freddie Freeman had a monster spring. Shohei obviously did. He had an over 1,500 OPS in spring. Like, he just was destroying baseballs. It's not even the home runs. I think he only had 2, but he just got hit after hit after hit. And if that's going to be what's happening, Freddie is going to have this monster year. Teoscar, you talked about, I think that guy is the most underrated dude that they have on right now. We just forget about a guy that is an all-star and knows how to hit a baseball.
Yeah.
He's just going to be solid out there. So I'm really excited for that. The pitching is something that, is obviously a question mark. I just don't know if Glasnow is going to stay healthy, because he never has.
Yep.
Yamamoto has been getting hit. Like, this is a legitimate thing where he's giving up singles, but he's getting hit, and it's like single, 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 single. So they're in a row. So people are just squaring him up, just not getting a lot of power behind it. So if he can figure that out, he'll be okay. But that's going to be a growing pain type thing. I think you really hope to go into the regular season and say everything's perfect. It's just not, unfortunately. But it'll be fine.
And so this is one of the advantages the Dodgers have, is that they have a long runway to get things right, because they have a lot of room for error. They are, on paper, leaps and bounds the best team in the NL West. They are one of the best teams, if not the best team in all of the National League. So this is a team, we keep saying it, I know it's redundant, but they are playing for October. So all of these issues, they have, a few months to sort of work out. It's not like you're a team that's sort of on the fringe where you need everything to be right for you right now, because your margin of error to make the playoffs is really slim. The Dodgers will figure it out. And during the regular season, they can sort of play with some things. I personally would like to see them get some things a little more settled, I think, a little bit earlier. It felt like last year they were still tinkering with rotations and pitching right up until the start of the playoffs, and we sort of see how that worked out for them. So, in an ideal world, they figure out all of this. Everybody stays healthy and everybody gets strong and they're right. And we get into the start of September, get to September 1st, and we already know what or at least have a good idea of what the playoff rotation is going to be, and we have all of the relievers all sort of lined up. I know that it ain't necessarily reality, but it would be nice if I'm just putting it out there for the baseball gods. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, and you're right to do it. And this is I have a mantra when it comes to the relievers, because you brought them up. What you see right now, opening day and for basically the first half of the season, those relievers will most likely, if not all of them, maybe none of them, will be in that rotation of relievers at the end of the year. What you have at the beginning of the year is never the same at the end of the year. It's just, I mean, it's too fluid in that situation. You need like, if Blake Trinan could possibly stay healthy, he could go all the way through, but for the most part, it's going to be some like 2 or 3 random dudes that come around in August, and you're like, oh, he's a relief pitcher now, and he's going to get us through the postseason. So it's going to be in flux all season long, and I know Andrew Freeman actually feels the exact same way. But the rotation is also one that I don't know when it's going to get fixed, because we don't know about the health. So far, everybody's healthy right now, but then Walker Buehler is going to come into it at some point. Clayton Kershaw is going to come into it at some point. What's going to happen at the trade deadline? Are we going to be trading for a starting pitcher because James Paxton couldn't make it through 2 starts? I mean, there's so many different things that are going to happen, that the pitching staff is going to be an issue, and it's going to be something to watch all season long. I just wish they, like you, just had it all figured out right now.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that would make this show sort of dull if they had it all figured out, I guess.
Everything's great.
But you know what? And look, it's sort of like being a weather person in Los Angeles. Like, hey man, it's gonna be sunny and like 72 today. Like, it's cool. Like, right? Like, it's maybe not exciting, but it makes you happy. And so I think that's sort of what we want. But I think, do you feel like we're gonna learn a lot from these first 2 games? It just feels so unlike anything else they're going to do the rest of the year, right? I mean, they're traveling to South Korea. It's 2 games, granted it's against a team they're going to see a lot that they're familiar with, but it just feels so, outside the norm that I don't know that there's a lot to take. You just hope they don't get, have a meltdown or something like that out there.
Yeah, it feels kind of empty, right? Like, it's because they're playing at 3:00 in the morning, all those kind of things. I will say that the one thing that you did say that was a little bit of an issue, and I wish they had figured out right off the bat, the whole second, third base, second and short. If I could just have that just settled before this season actually started, because what we're going to watch in that is really, all eyes are going to be not on Shohei, not on Mookie, not on Freddie. It's going to be on Gavin Lux, and everybody's going to watching every single play. Every time he throws a ball to first, every time he has to try and turn a double play, it's all going to be that. I think everybody else will be fine, and you're okay with it. Everybody's so worried about what's happening at second, and to not have their defense set. That's the only thing that I think I'm going to be really fully paying attention to. And that kind of sucks, right?
It does suck. And I think the other part of it is, if we're aware, look, we're aware of it, the fans are aware of it. You're going to tell me the Padres aren't aware of it. You're not going to tell me that, if it comes down to it and there's a double play potentially at second base, if I'm a base runner, I'm going hard, man. I'm going hard. I'm just trying to get in his head, distract him a little bit and see how that affects everything. Maybe he throws it in the stands and suddenly everything's great for me. So, if we're paying attention, trust and believe that the guys in the other dugout are paying attention to that too.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And that's what's going to happen. This is going to be it for Blue Review for this week. We'll be back on Monday. Are you with us on Monday?
I am with you on Monday. I'll be here.
I love it. I love it. All right. Getting ready for Travis and Sliwa, and they're going to be talking a lot about Aaron Donald and the fact that he just retired. Have to mention it again. Aaron Donald surprisingly retired. And so go over to Travis and Sliwa as soon as we get off here to hear everything about it. I think DeMarco Farr is going to join in right away to talk about the AD retirement. So thank you very much for a great week of the Blue Review. We'll be back on Monday, 9:30 to 9:55. Like always, tell your friends, tell everybody. And thank you to LAX, and thank you to everybody in the chat. It's much, much appreciated. All right, Mark.